Hello, Rob Walker here. So the other day on Facebook, I made a comment about the Oscars, basically saying we should all know by now that it's an awards ceremony that's arbitrary and expensive. That was probably a douchebaggy thing to say, and for that I apologize, but I kind of wanted to explain myself just a little bit better and kind of give some tips on how we might fix the Oscars. So I had a lot of friends and family comment saying, I like the Oscars, I like watching the fashions and seeing what people are wearing, and that's totally fine. Some people said, I like the Oscars, football fans get the Super Bowl and they get to geek out about the Super Bowl, this is my thing, I like the arts, I like cinema, I should be able to enjoy the Oscars. And I absolutely agree, that's totally fine too. But among my problems concerning the Oscars is the fact that people view the Academy Awards as being like an all-encompassing thing awarding certain, like, the best of cinema for that particular year, and it's just simply not true. To even qualify for an Academy Award, you have to go by certain rules. I believe the Best Picture nominee has to be in theaters, mainstream theaters, for at least 7 days. You have to have a runtime of over 40 minutes, which is fairly easy to do. Most movies run 120. You also have to have people pay admission, so you just can't show the movie for free, and it has to be in an LA cinema for 7 days, if I'm not mistaken. If any of you Oscar fiends or aficionados want to call me out on some of this stuff, there are rules. It's an Oscar qualifying rulebook. It's online at the Oscars website. It's about 30 pages long. Call me out if you want, but I think that's correct. Regardless, there are rules for submitting a film, so it's kind of like a giant film festival. So when you see the Oscars, you're not seeing the best of the best of the best. You're seeing a cross-section of the best films for that year. The Oscars also have a bias against certain genres. You're usually not going to see genres like horror or sci-fi or even comedy, which really isn't a genre, nominated for Oscars, and when you do, it's kind of like, it's almost like a pity Oscar, or it's got to be something kind of out of the ordinary. An example of this would be Silence of the Lambs, which swept the Oscars the year it came out. Everyone was surprised because it was a horror film. Although many people refer to Silence of the Lambs as a thriller, which is usually what you call a horror film that wins an award. The other thing I don't like is that the tech staff and the people who do the special effects and the costumes often get brushed to the side and do not get their proper due in favor of the stars and starlets we see on the screen. And it's kind of a crapshoot because if they get a good host, great, that kind of helps speed things along a little bit. If you get a bad host, it's just like a complete fucking slog. Not to mention, all of this hoopla is over 3 hours long most of the time, not including the who's wearing what and whom and all the hoopla before and after the Oscars. So it's like an all-day event, and it's kind of ridiculous, if you ask me. All of this is to say, in my opinion, the Oscars to me feel like a really expensive, really beautiful, horribly planned high school prom. So if I were in charge of the Oscars or the Academy Awards, how would I fix this problem? Well, I'm never going to fix the problem that it's completely expensive and arbitrary on how they pick the films, because it is art, however, and you're comparing apples to oranges. You can start by limiting the Oscars to 2 hours. That's the cutoff point. 2 hours. You get 2 hours from start to finish. You have to cram all of the awards, all of the awardees and the speeches and the sometimes useless and nonsensical musical numbers into those 2 hours. After that, whether they're done or not, they should air the news. So once you have 2 hours confined in which to play, that kind of dictates what you have to do then, right? You have to cut out a lot of the musical numbers and the showpieces and stuff like that and really choose the good ones, or craft the good ones. The other thing is, you should pick the right host. In my opinion, there's only a handful of people who can really host the Oscars. You know who they are, but here are a few examples. Steve Martin. Ellen DeGeneres did a really good job. Jon Stewart did a really good job. I think Martin Short could probably handle it. Billy Crystal has done a great job in the past. Quit trying to appeal to younger audiences by having younger hosts. The kind of people who watch the Oscars don't care how old and stodgy it is. They're just there to see who's wearing what, see their favorite stars, and to see if their particular film, the horse they bet on, actually gets its award. And finally, this is perhaps the most important thing into cutting the Oscars down and making it more palpable so it's not just a giant, bloated, expensive slog, are the speeches. If I got an Academy Award, I would understandably want to get up there and thank everyone. It's a huge televised event, and whether I like it or not, the Oscars are kind of an important thing in the entertainment industry. So you win, you get up there, and you just want to thank everyone in the world, and it's cool if you're one of the early winners, but the later in the evening it goes, and also depending on your celebrity, they have a tendency to cut you off. To help out with this, I think they should institute a rule that you get up there, you're all glammed out, and you have your speech prepared, but it's the short version of the speech, where you thank the people involved in the film that got you the Oscar, you thank your mom, your dad, your teachers, your manager, and that's it. And then what you do is you make a YouTube video. This YouTube video in which you make, you can be as silly or as elaborate or as simple as you want to make it, but you get to thank everybody you ever wanted to thank. And if YouTube and Google get in on this, you could have a playlist that racks up views like nobody's business. A playlist filled with Oscar speeches. And these speeches will feel more personal because it will have the person staring directly into the camera, addressing the people directly whom they wish to thank. So there you have it. Those are my tips on how to fix the Oscars, as if they listened to me in the first place anyway, and also a little bit about why I think about the Oscars the way I think about them. I certainly don't want to take away anyone's enjoyment of the night. I have things that I enjoy myself, and if you dig something that's artistic and beautiful and takes people with a lot of talent to put together and honors cinema in any capacity, I'm for it. I think that's great. But I won't watch it. It's not for me. So anyway, that's my Oscar video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is Rob Walker saying thank you for watching.